earlier life, I did quite a bit of traveling because my husband was a contractor. And moving different places, people would ask me what part of the South I was from. And of course, at first, it was a little annoying. And then it became a game with me. I would let them guess, and they never could. Same thing with my weight. Well, I let them guess, and they never can.
Murray had a little lamb, feet was white as snow. Everywhere me and Murray went, that lamb was sure to go.
Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. And everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
Mary had a little lamb, her feet was white as snow.
And everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
He followed.
At that concert, huh? But yeah, y'all ride on that gondola?
Girl, yes, Lindsay, that's too scary.
Girl, I was riding on that thing.
Did you go to the kiddie wash?
People from New York or Philadelphia, and Virginia especially, our grandkids in Virginia, and they have that Virginia dialect, I have to live twice to catch on, to get that dialect,
Wisconsin people.
Why do you say Wisconsin? What do they sound like?
Because when they say their O's, they're going out and about. They do, they're really bad. They sound like they're Norwegian.
Mississippi and Georgia, they had a certain way of talking that, boy, you had to have a knife to cut it, like trying to cut butter. They couldn't understand them.
People from Chicago and people from New York, upstate New York and all that, all of them have a definite accent. And they're the ones that are hard to understand. They may think I'm hard to understand.
New Yorkers are rude. Southerners talk too slow. New Englanders don't say much at all. We've all heard the old cliches. People have many ways of talking in the United States, and no matter who's doing the talking, somebody or other has an opinion about it. After all, it's one of the most important ways we size each other up.
It's like a vibration thing. It's not too much what they say out of their mouth, it's how they say it. Because, you can meet a person for the first time and automatically draw an opinion, I'm not going to like him. We're not going to get along together. And you don't know him from Adam or Eve, just from what he has said and how he has said it out of his mouth.
When someone expresses an opinion about the way somebody else talks, he may be making a judgment about more than just their speech.
I think you see more change in the way the blacks talk than you do the way the whites talk. Because some of this yakety-yak junk that they do and just go on and on and on, and when they get through, when it all boils down, they just say good morning, but yet they'll talk 15 minutes on that same thing.
And since your speech is so much a part of who you are, if someone criticizes the way you talk, you might feel they're criticizing you.
Well, they call me Dutchified.
Does that get you upset?
Well, in a way.
Depends on the mood.
Because they get people on television, you know, like you watch these programs, they're from a different country. Well, I can tell they're from a different country, but I wouldn't make fun of them because they talk the way they do. And you accept them like that, don't you? I do. But why make fun of me because I sound Dutchified? You're dumb. Just as soon as it's Dutchified or German, you're dumb.
When people put down the way others speak, they sometimes forget that everybody speaks with an accent. So before you jump to conclusions, consider the many ways of talking Americans have. And remember that what sounds funny or odd to one person is music to the ears of another.
Sweet Phoebe, do not scorn me. Do not, Phoebe. Say that you love me not, but say not so in bitterness. The common executioner, whose heart the accustomed sight of death makes hard. Oh, dear Phoebe, if ever, as it ever may be near, you meet in some fresh cheek the power of fancy, then shall you know the wounds invisible that love's keen arrows make.
Park the heads via a program from your diskette or hard drive. There are two ways you can shut down a hard drive. If your hard drive has an automatic feature, simply by turning off the power switch of the computer, will actually bring the heads up off the platers and bring them back past track 0, so that if there is any jostling of the computer after shutdown, the heads will not erase any of the data on the plater. Of course, they'll go to the server in turn, but they are sent down with 128K bytes of information down a packet with a start and a stop for collision detection. It'll drop off these bits when it gets to the destination and go straight DMA access into the system.
Start looking for me when you reach heaven. Keep looking for me. I'll be there.
It's hard to say how many varieties of English there are in the United States. It depends on how you want to cut the pie. A particular accent may be spoken by only a few hundred people. You can hear some of the most unusual varieties in remote mountain areas or on islands along the East Coast. The speech heard in some of these places may sound very old-fashioned to outsiders.
I can hire him in your Saturday night. Right. Big kid drove his mom out. Jack said I had to get out, him. His mom's been calling and cussing at me all day. She was behind the counter. She said, "It's a lie, Jack." I said, "Who's that, Mom?"
The first permanent settlement, white settlement on the island, was in 1686. There's been people living here ever since. And there are about all of us that were born here on this island. We can say that our parents were born here, and our grandparents, and our great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, and right on down.
What amazes me is that I can be most anywhere. I can be in the mall in Salisbury, Maryland, for example, and I can hear Tan German talking in the crowd, and I can immediately tell, hey, they're from home, you know.
It used to be like Claude and them said, you could follow the crabs right on down. Now they don't do that no more. I think they get on top of the water and swim when they get ready to load. Swim over top the pots instead of in them.
Anal pots there, where they're at.
Where is they at?
Just outside the mud, the anal pots there. They ain't cutting that off either, that crab going out.
If we're talking among ourselves, we might fall into the pattern of years ago and use words that you're not used to, that you haven't heard.
You're gonna have to live with pots.
But it's just about gone now. We talk like everybody else. I figure I sound just like Walter Cronkite.
American dialects came from the speech of the first English settlers who brought with them the accents of their regions. The folks from the London area, who settled in Virginia and Massachusetts, spoke a different way from the folks from northern England who made their home in Philadelphia. As the population spread out, these groups and others interacted, mixing with non-English speaking settlers to create a patchwork of American accents, each blending gradually into the next. As you go east to west, it becomes harder to hear the differences between accents. In the wide open spaces out west, southern and northern accents mixed, so you don't find as many distinctions.
Sometimes the settlers were stopped by natural boundaries or barriers, such as a mountain range or a river. And of course, since they were stopped, their dialect stopped too. For example, the Connecticut River to this day separates Park Your Car from Park Your Car. Human interaction, the way people talk to each other or don't talk to each other, the way they copy each other. It's always changing. And because we, as people, change, so do our dialects.
It isn't just that we speak differently. Take a trip across the United States today and you begin to notice something else about the way Americans talk. Our speech reveals how we deal with the world, whether we beat around the bush or get straight to the point. The more you listen, the more you realize how our ways of speaking relate to how we live our lives.
And good morning and welcome into the Marketplace program on this Tuesday morning. I'm Ricky Campbell with you. Good morning, Marketplace.
Hello. I have a Ringer Maytag washer I'd like to sell, and I'm on $125 for it.
I've got a General Electric Frigidaire. It's real good. Runs good for sale. And I've got a nice 5-year-old saddle horse.
It's me again, Ricky. I forgot to put my mustard greens. I got plenty of pretty mustard. Anyone wants it?
No, I just don't talk like Buckeyes or, or Detroit or stuff like that. I don't talk Southern, but I'm just a plain old hillbilly.
You can tell people from this part of Kentucky from anywhere else in the world, or I can, if you really listen to it. I thought this is the way everybody talked till I went in the Navy and everybody talked funny to me, and then I got to realizing it was me that was different than the rest of them.
Miss Caesar,
40. These will all be in the boxes now. I'll be around from $30 to $40.
how much you say you want for these dresses?
The subtle cultural overtones of this dialect remain among Appalachian people. It's culture expressing itself in sound, and it involves rhythms, pause, tonal qualities, and so forth. They themselves could not articulate it or identify it, but it's there. You hear it as an outsider.
These look like they fit him.
Because this pointed toe, you've got to have a half a size, you need a half a size larger. See? If he's buying something like this right here in square-toed, he make it wear it in 8 1/2.
There's a strong emphasis in Appalachia upon the integrity of the individual. This means, then, that one talks far around a subject before he hits it.
How you feel? Pretty good?
I feel good. I'm a little tired. We've been campaigning a lot. We've been out on the trail for the last 2 months.
I want you to sign a personal note for me, let's say. I go and we interact socially. We might sit on our heels and whittle and pick our teeth with grass stems and tell stories for half an hour before I finally let it be known that I have come to have you sign this note for me. This is typical of the way we interact among ourselves. I think still is.
I do appreciate it.
Now, I can't bring these back if I don't fit.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, we seem to be here, the median. And then everybody else seems to be either above or below. When they say Midwest, to me, it means middle everything. It's mid-level. You want to find the basic America or the yardstick, it's kind of right in here. We're straight American. We're bland. We're just the normal stuff right here. Right out of the dictionary. No accents, no colloquialisms, you know, no uniqueness, just kind of straight English.
They say the Republicans got all the money, but the Democrats is doing all the goddamn advertising. Huh? Wait a minute, I bought it. Yeah, every Democrat running for city council or whatever is in the goddamn football bulletin, and they're in the Republican page. We got
they don't have
two
the money.
launches.
They don't have the money. They don't have the money to get the ads. You know,
Well, we're always in here. There's a gang of us always in. About 7:30 every morning.
What do you talk about?
Everything. Oh, I'll tell you, we if there's a conversation, we got it. It isn't always good, but we always got a conversation or something.
There's occasionally that sense that when you mention Columbus, Ohio, or say Ohio, they immediately presume that you're talking to them from the phone extension in the hog barn. Well, those of us who live in the central part of this state, we'll say, no, we don't talk funny in Columbus, but if you want to hear funny, go about 70 miles due south. And I'm sure there's this gnawing suspicion that they're saying the same thing up in Cleveland about us.
Well, you know how it is. I think Texans are pretty obvious to tell, I guess.
What do you think the most obvious thing about the Texans?
The way they talk.
I think that most Westerners, in their speaking, feel like they're being more open, more forthright, more trustworthy. I think that Westerners feel about their speech sort of the way they do about their social rules and things. You know, you're supposed to come out and let everybody see and hear, and you're not supposed to hide anything. And I know that's true of Texans.
I want to tell you what you need to do about your cow dogs. Well, you stand here at that pole. Let me tell you, them cow dogs supposed to work behind the cow. Yeah. And these work right in front.
Stupid.
Huh?
They're stupid.
Did you train them?
I train them. I'm stupid.
Another thing about Texas, you very seldom will encounter that Maine approach, nah or yah. They'll bend your ear. In fact, I've seen it happen more than just a dozen or two times. I've seen it happen with a rather constant frequency. You're driving down a little country road, and here are two pickup trucks, and they're two guys that see each other at least once a day, but they're talking there, and you pull up in front or behind, and you got to give them a little time to break off their conversation. And sometimes they'll pull out and let you by, and you look in your rearview mirror, and they're back to talking again. See,
John Henry, you a dog trainer? You need to every day train those dogs. It's just like going to a football game. If a coach hadn't coached them before he got to the game, they don't need trying to coach them after you get there.
If I do anything, I'll jump the broomstick. And I don't want no spring chicken either. I want an old setting hen who can cook. Che ti va a cuire per souper.
Parriedi tu. He want to know what I'll cook for supper. I tell him nothing.
E non ti va a dormire a soir. Che lì ti va a coucher.
Je vais me coucher dans le lit en arrière et toi devant. He asked me what bed I must sleep in tonight. I tell him in the back bed and him in the front bed.
Is that nice?
So what do you think of those New York Mets?
They're the best. I love them.
Did you watch the games?
Every game, every night till 12 o'clock at night.
No wonder you were sleepy all day at
When you think about the way someone from another part of the country talks, one thing that strikes you are the words that they use.
Y'all have chicken fried steak? I would like chicken fried steak, hush puppies on the side, cream gravy, and an iced tea, please.
What's that?
This hush puppies. Now, this is a New York deli. If you want to nosh, if you want to eat, you could schlep all over the world. You wouldn't find what we got here. How about a poppy schmear?
How about a knish?
How about some kishka?
How about a nice bialy?
Now, wait,
Yeah, how about some
calm
Nova?
down, y'all. I don't understand a word you're saying.
Even though we all speak English, there are many words and expressions used in one place that might as well be Greek to people from somewhere else.
We were talking about the Mets. I think she's talking about the vets.
This drink consists of syrup, ice cream, milk, and it's all mixed up, and it turns out to be a very, very fine drink.
And it's a milkshake, right?
No, it's called cabinet. In this part of Rhode Island, it's called a cabinet.
You know what is a gumbian?
It's a gumbian. It's the thing that like you wrap things up in.
Do you ever
it
hear
stretches.
Do you ever hear another name for that?
Rubber band? I think some people call it rubber band. Not here though.
Well, I'm in Honolulu and it's quitting time. What do you say?
Well, you would use the Hawaiian term that everybody knows, which is pauhana. Work is finished, and everybody knows that.
What about jambalaya?
Jambalaya? Oh, yeah, I know it's jambalaya. Yeah.
What's that?
Jambalaya, you mix that with meat, jambalaya, and rice, and you wear a season, and you cook it. That's good jambalaya.
Anagoglin, you know what that means?
Yeah. It's at a diagonal, skew, off from the perpendicular, we'll say.
Anagoglin meaning non-square, anything but square if it's sitting swatchwise.
Snickle Fritz, that's a good one. A Snickle Fritz, yeah.
Snickle Fritz. What's a
Snickle Fritz. Little kid would be a Snickle Fritz. You know, a rowdy little kid would be a Snickle Fritz.
What does schlep mean?
What does schlep mean? Schlep means to carry, to lug, to schlep around, to walk around. Everybody in New York schleps. Everybody's carrying something. Everybody's schlepping someplace. We're all schleppers.
Since you've been exposed to some New Yorkers, do you know what this word is?
Shelp? No.
Schlep?
Slep.
Slep.
Slep. Oh, slep. S-C-H. Slep.
What does it mean?
Well, did you sleep? That's what I think.
Slip. 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 Slip.
What's it mean?
Slip.
Slept last night in this room.
Words do tell a lot about the people in a particular place. In the Southwest, where the weather is always on everybody's mind, there are many expressions to describe rainstorms. Any kid from Oklahoma could tell you that. We learn the words we use in our regions the same way we learn our manners and customs from the people around us.
Mama, Mama, I'm so sick. Call the doctor, quick, quick, quick. Doctor, doctor, will I die? Count to 5 and you'll survive. 1.
Everybody learns to talk in the same way. At first, they learn it in the home, from their family or the people who raised them.
Look all these in my pocket.
What you done there, baby?
He had to make the good play.
What you done there, Sandy? Huh?
Playing in the street. She might want to play.
If you want to pick up some pecans, you pick them up over here. Don't pick them up out in the dirt, no. You put it in your mouth, germs and all on there. Just pick them up over here and wipe off your clothes.
Once kids become old enough, they learn their language from their peers, the kids that they play with, kids the same age or those who are slightly older than them.
Hurry up! Hurry up where I can get out of here. Hurry up! Hurry up! Hurry up!
As kids grow older, peer influence becomes even more important. Kids hear a lot of speech on TV. They listen to a lot of teachers talk in school. But what's really important to them is the speech of the kids that they interact with on a day-to-day basis. As kids go on, they may learn another dialect. But in those unguarded moments, moments of anger and passion, it's the original dialect that they fall back into, because that's the dialect that has the most meaning for them.
At times, I go back to my southern dialect, you know, at certain words, and I feel more comfortable. And then there are in other settings that I correct that.
When might you correct that?
When I'm in my professional field, more so than anything, and when I'm in my own social group and I'm more relaxed, my southern dialect seems to come out a little bit more, and I feel more relaxed, and then they begin to call me a southern girl, and that's my identity, and I like that.
The number is 481-2500. If you need assistance, an operator will return.
Where have we heard your voice before?
Well, does this sound familiar to you? The number is 732-7777. That's where you've heard it. I'm the voice of directory assistants throughout a good part of the country.
How did the actual taping session go?
I was given a list of numbers from 0 to 9 to record with different inflections. For example, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. These numbers are thrown into a computer, and depending on where you want the number in the sequence of a telephone number, the different inflection is used. So that it comes out something like this. The number is 0, 0, 0, 2, 0, 2, 0. They were looking for generic speech, or some people call it homogenized speech, speech that would float in any part of the country and didn't sound like it came from somewhere in particular, perhaps the voice from nowhere. I was engaged for a while to a Yalie who sounded like a Yalie to me, although he had a trace of a Southern accent. I thought sort of a Bill Faulkner, Truman Capote accent. You know, when you're 20, you don't, make these distinctions. And I went home to meet his family at Christmas. And as we drove further south from New Haven, his accent got heavier and heavier. It became filled with all these hillbilly kind of regionalisms, this real kind of you all stuff. And as well, a lot of the hand gestures. I mean, this man was becoming a different person as we went. Mostly the language. By the time we got to Sparta, I had it. I just knew that someone with those little accents was not going to crawl around inside of me. I was not going to have little Southern babies who talked like that, and I got a plane home. No question.
You can't talk Southern. I mean, Southern bro, it's the worst. You know that to yourself. I mean, you're laughing.
Why is it worse?
Because they talk like niggers. I'm sorry.
Even the white people?
Even the white people talk like niggers over there.
People can be very blunt when they say what they think about the speech of a certain area. They may point to how people talk as proof of what they like or don't like about that part of the country.
And I was talking to a New York editor not too long ago, and I could tell, he was thinking, Ohio, okay, I learned about that in geography. It's somewhere near Iowa or Idaho or one of those places. And you get the impression that they think there's rampant brain death east of or west of the Hudson. And you almost want to say, well, I got to go now because the Berkshires are eating the seat covers off the Massey Ferguson and we got some canning to do. But so we tease back and we get very defensive. I say about New Yorkers that in Manhattan, the reason there's that nasality in the language is because the higher up you go in those skyscrapers, the thinner the air is, and they say, he's in a meeting right now, that's what happens. But
I don't think they perhaps have the same values of hospitality that we do in the South, and so I associate all of that with the sound of their voice, and it's grating on your ears. Maybe our sound is also, but it's usually very nasal. And a lot of times the things they say are not kind.
They won't say, oh, darling, I'm so glad to see you. They'll say, nice to see you. I'll just clip it right off.
Clip it off.
And you've got to put little adjectives and little darling, precious, something like that to make you a Southerner.
They laugh at me. I took an ice chest out at a wedding, and I said, I've brought the ice. And these three guys said, you've brought the what? And I said, I've brought the ice. And they said, well, we're not quite sure
what you're saying. And I opened up this ice chest and I said, see, ice, asshole.
There's a lot more prejudice against a Southern accent than there is against any other kind. That is, and I think it troubled Jimmy Carter considerably, because in the Northern mind, a Southern accent equals both ignorance and racism, and you'll see that stereotype reinforced in zillions of old movies. You take all those old movies around World War II era, I don't know how many zillions there were, but the classic World War II movie consists of an all-American clean-cut hero who's from somewhere in the Middle West, usually a farm kid from Kansas who's blonde, and he's always got one wisecracking buddy from New York, and then there's always some just dumb, slow-talking Southerner who's the butt of all the jokes in the military movie. And that's a stock character in American movies, and it really has reinforced the prejudice against a Southern accent.
Regional stereotypes have been around for a long time. We often feel that we know an area, whether we've been there or not, because of what we've seen in movies or on television or what we've read in books. When you hear people with strong regional accents, they tend to be the villains or comic characters.
Hey, Muggs, get a load of that.
Don't cover it up. That's the way I like to see it. My name first.
Yeah, but that makes you the challenger.
Just a natural born point killer, ain't you?
You know, my father once had his name on a thing like that. Yeah, wanted, dead or alive, reward, 2 cents.
Well, I'll tell you what I would like.
Yeah.
I'd like to learn how to talk good.
It's the nice guys and heroes, the well-educated and serious types who speak an accent close to standard English.
Well, I might give you a few books to start with, and then every now and then I'll correct you if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Well, that is when I know. I don't talk so good myself.
You do.
Good.
So what happens? He gets the title shot outdoors in a ballpark, and what do I get? A one-way ticket to Palookaville. You was my brother, Charlie. You should have looked out for me a little bit.
The other side of the stereotype is that a regional accent tags a character as natural, real, the salt of the earth.
You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody. Instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it.
From Mark Twain's Huck Finn to Thornton Wilder's Our Town, regional accents have been used by writers to make their characters trustworthy.
I don't know how long I can get away with this act, but she's sure worth a try.
All those buildings filled with people. Kind of scares a country boy like me, you know it?
Isn't that sweet? So unpretentious and honest.
No, I have in-laws, and I love Georgia very much. They talk in questions, though. Last week, went to see my mother-in-law. You know, talking to me, you're asking me if you went to see your mother? And then we went to the Braves game. Well, I don't know. Did you go? With your mother-in-law? And then we went home to see Stone Mountain, you know. No. That's why they lost the Civil War. The troops couldn't understand the commands. They were very equivocal, you know. Charge.
Well, it's not them feeling superior. It's me feeling inferior, and I hate when I feel like that. And when I speak horribly, I feel stupid, and I don't have confidence in myself, and it's holding me back. It's holding me back in a lot of things that I want to do. I want to, a good career and things like that, and if you don't speak well, you can't.
Let's face it, there are certain consequences for not speaking a standard dialect. For example, people may make fun of you, or you may have certain limitations in terms of the job market. So if you don't want to deal with the negatives, it may be very helpful to learn a standard dialect for certain situations. It may not be fair, but that's the way it is.
They kind of stereotype you. What, are you from Brooklyn? Yeah, I am from Brooklyn, but I don't like to, remember it every day. I mean, it was a good place when I grew up, but automatically when they hear this Brooklyn accent, they think like you grew up in a slum hanging out on a corner, and, you know, they get the wrong impression, which I guess I don't like to make a good impression.
Bearded dwarf.
Bearded dwarf.
Fierce farmer.
Fierce farmer.
Farmer.
Farmer. Farmer.
Regional speech patterns are going to mark you as regional for the rest of your life. And that's not what the corporate world is looking for.
Right, and the final R's certainly, and then some of the medial R's are still missing.
I work for a dental company, and we have really high-tech type equipment, and I'm an outside sales rep, and I would have to fill in at meetings all over the country. And they send me, I remember one time in particular, they sent me to Milwaukee, and they weren't even listening to what I was saying, and they were so, they thought it was like a comic act, comedian's act. They were kind of listening more to the way I was speaking than what I was saying. You know, and they'd say, where are you from? And, you know, where are you from? Texas. You know, where do you think I'm from?
Instantly, there's an ability to stereotype that person, and worst of all, they get stereotyped in terms of ability to do things like run a corporation or take responsibility or meet the public or give a good image. There's the feeling that anybody who talks like that can't be very smart. And if I don't talk like that, I must be smarter than you. And I don't want anybody who's not very smart representing my company. And those kinds of folks tend to have a hard time getting a job. So their speech is very, very important.
It is tough because when you're speaking one particular way, it's almost like a diet. You know, it's tough, but you want it.
Few of us actually go so far as to try to change our accents, especially if we never have to leave our home regions. But even within communities, accents vary enough to reveal something else about us. It's the thing that in a democracy isn't supposed to matter so much, our social class.
My name's Kathy Carangelo, and I live in the north end of Boston. I lived here all my life. I enjoy to travel. My latest trip was to St. Martin, and we took a little side trip to St. Bart's, which was a beautiful island. It was only 9 miles. It's a 2-hour
I'm John
ride,
Sears,
but
and Boston
the
is
day that
home.
it rained,
I grew up in the Back Bay part and now live in Beacon Hill, but we're in the Fenway. And the object behind me is Cyrus Dolan's Appeal to the Great Spirit. That statue means a lot to me because it's a reminder.
My name is Sandy Hall, and I am a resident of Boston. I come from a neighborhood called Dorchester, and I'm interested in all types of sporting activities. Right now, the Boston Red Sox are #1. We also have...
Hi, my name is George McAvoy. I live and grew up in South Boston, and now I live in Dorchester. I'm married. My wife is named Marge, and I have 2 boys, George III.
Even in one place, there are many accents. A stranger to Boston might think that everybody there says park the car the same way. But one Bostonian can tell the neighborhood and the social or ethnic background of another Bostonian as soon as he opens his mouth. People make these distinctions whether they live in Portland, Maine or Portland, Oregon.
It's easy to figure out which dialects are more desirable and which dialects are less desirable. Just look at which groups are more desirable and which groups are less desirable. We tend to think of urban as better than rural. We tend to think of middle class as better than working class. We tend to think of white as better than black. So if you're a member of one of these stigmatized groups, then the way you talk will also be stigmatized. This goes on all over the United States, in every community.
There are those people who are professionals, and then there are those people who are factory workers, and they live in entirely different social circles.
And you've got 3 different ways of speaking. You've got a cultured way of speaking. You've got a white trash. Is that a terrible expression?
Well, that's what we really think about.
And then you have the black.
Not
way
really
of
white
speaking?
trash, let's say uneducated.
Okay, that's better.
Uneducated.
Uneducated. There's a difference between uneducated and white trash anyway.
You know, it's I ain't got no. Let's don't let no, let me think, I've got to remember. Let's don't let no stump knock no hole in the bottom of this here boat.
One of the things that having an accent does to us is make us have to be excellent. Once you've been in the city and realize how it works, how the social system works, you immediately realize that you have to be one cut above anybody that you're competing with. Because the minute you open your mouth, you've got 2 strikes against you.
I know how we talk. We kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say slur our words, but we don't, enunciate and pronounce our words. When I want to talk proper, I will. If there's somebody I have to impress or,
When you've heard enough people tell you what's wrong with the way you talk, you might begin to believe them.
Yes, I do, because it's ignorant. You know, it sounds ignorant. Oh, come on, listen to this shit. These people hear this stuff, they're going to say, what the hell's coming that garbage out there, damn
That's
night?
it, right there. You see, that's it, right
That's going to
there.
happen. They're going to hear this, and they say, look at them 2 beautiful girls. If they'd shut their mouths, it'd be great. You know, my girlfriend...
I've heard that so
It's the
many
truth.
times.
My girlfriend Rhoda...
Oh, everybody tells us that.
My girlfriend Rhoda tells me that.
If you would keep your mouth shut, you'd be perfect.
I
Once
mean,
they hear that,
it's like, oh my
go through it.
God,
in
what
and
is
out.
that?
What else have they got to live for?
Well,
Sex, probably.
well, doubtless sex. They keep that very quiet.
Yeah.
But
I know you don't like Dickens.
no, I don't like Dickens.
Yes, he's post-Austen.
Now,
yeah.
Jane Austen, of course, is the greatest novelist in the English language.
Well,
right?
she's a great novelist, but not the greatest.
Not the greatest.
I'm a Dickens man.
Well, Dickens is messy, George.
Of course he's messy, but he's lively.
He only wrote one great book, which is Pickwick Papers.
I would put that way down compared to Bleak House.
I've been here for about 350 years. My family came over with the first load of bricks.
Yeah. I consider myself speaking the Brahmin dialect of Boston. But the word Brahmin is a very difficult word to define, and it wasn't, in fact, invented until Oliver Wendell Holmes in the middle of the last century.
Do you think there are many people in Boston who speak like you 2 gentlemen do?
We're a dwindling group.
They're dwindling. We are a declining group.
But I think there may be as many as 1,000.
I don't know.
Out of 600,000.
I often wonder.
You tend to revel in the communication level you've come to experience. People in the North End, particularly, as I say, revel in the fact that they speak a certain way. And if you speak some way other than that, they find you to be different. And I can't express it more than to say they really revel. They go further than what they really should. In other words, to communicate with one another, they don't have to say, "ka," is like they say it, but they'll say it even more, just to emphasize the fact that that's where they're from.
Julio! Come here, will you please, for a minute? You look all gagato. What's the matter? Rough night? Seriously, did you make it to my party Friday?
Well, you'll find that a lot of
What
us
happened?
really do express ourselves differently, and if my brother Philip was here, he has yet another way of expressing himself.
He'd probably be the best one.
Yeah.
Why? What's your
He definitely has an accent, a Boston North End accent.
The reason why Philip has it so strong and emphasizes it and uses it to his advantage is because he's the only one out of the 5 of us that actually really grew up in the North End.
Columbo, what you doing? Chris fucked up big time. Yeah, he's in trouble in the Marines. He called up his boss. He says, "Hey, I ain't coming into work today." The boss goes, "Why not?" He says, "I'm going and get beamed with the broad." The boss says, "Yeah." They put him in the brig. Seriously, then he took a piss test, and
Every time I hear my younger brother talk, I cringe because it's fine for the area, it's fine for your family, you know, But when you travel outside the area and travel outside the family, you're going to have to pronounce your R's. You're going to have to think of what you're saying, and you're going to have to articulate. And all we could do is talk in one manner.
I would never change growing up in the city. The best thing that ever happened to me. It really was. It's such an advantage over people. You go to a club, you start talking to a babe, and she says, "You Italian?" And she, "What makes you think that?" She says, "You talk like an Italian." And then you start giving it the accent. "Yeah, yous guys, and where yous from, and I'm with 3 of my friends. I chew the football all day, and this, that, and the mother, and stuff like that." And the women, they eat it up. They love that. They really do. They thrive on that. And then you get a guy, right, and you tell him, "Don't fuck with me. I'll break your motherfucking head." And then right away, the guy, he says, "Wow, this kid's from the city. He's gonna pull a shank on me and cut me." And you can intimidate people with your verbal actions.
On the committee.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
When?
First 3 rows.
Are you?
Watch. You walk right in like we owned the joint. Seriously, watch. I'd be lost without growing up in the city and having these assets. I use them as an asset instead of a liability, you know. And when they went to college, it was a liability for my brothers, you know. But then again, they ain't as smart as me.
That's it. Body oil. That's it, bro.
I ain't got too much money, man.
Going on, brother. He said we was gonna work it out. Smell that. 350 smell that.
Now you hustling.
No, I'm working with you.
You work?
I'm working with you. I'm trying to meet you.
Man, you sure this real, man?
Oh, take long, real. I'm scared of it. It's so real. Let me buy me a pack.
The dialect of many black Americans is what is often called Black English. Although the roots of Black English go back hundreds of years, its use is still controversial today.
Yeah, girl, I met a dude too, his name Kevin. But he was with his girlfriend, and I didn't play nothing like that, so I left him alone.
Well, I saw this guy named Mike. Mike was I think that the majority of white America, does not accept Black English, but not because of the language itself, because of the people who speak it, which is racism.
Most of the white varieties are accepted. They might not be similar, and they might not be, quote, correct, but they are accepted. And that's what makes Black English different, as it is not accepted.
Even though Black English is mocked and looked down upon by many white people, a lot of Black Americans use it to relate to one another every day. And those who don't use it in their home communities run the risk of becoming outsiders.
I know that my 2 children now who are in suburban systems, when I hear them talk, sometimes it grates on me. Beyond, I have 2 sons. One's 12, one's 15. When I hear them talk, sometimes I say, my God, am I raising 2 white boys here? And I don't mean that to be negative with respect to white males, but I don't want my boys sounding like white males. And when I first heard, I started listening because a couple of my cousins came over, and they said, my age, and they said, what's happening with your sons, man? Why do they sound like that? And I said, sound like what?
Do the 3 of you all talk in the same way?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I think me and Sharon do if it's not Amelia's.
Yeah.
Huh?
What's the difference?
I don't use slang as much.
I know what the difference is. Amelia have a proper voice than us. She talk
I don't
proper.
use slang as much.
Why not?
I don't know.
I know why. Because she's a schoolgirl and she's a mama girl. I'm a mama girl too, but I still be using them slangs. What's happening, girl? Where you been at? Right for nothing much, huh? That's my girl.
Yeah?
Yes,
It ain't about nothing.
It's my parcel.
So, is it a bad thing to speak proper?
Yeah.
Why is it
We
bad?
call Amelia Bunny Rabbit. Because some people look at you different because you don't use as much slang as them. She's trying to be cute or something like that.
You've been made to believe that your own language that you've been communicating with
But that's not
is
your
a
own
bad
language.
It is
That's
your
not-
own language.
listen to me.
Whites don't talk that
Listen
way.
to me. You know
Who's
why?
Is it their language?
Listen to me.
Is it their language?
listen
Whose
to me.
language is it?
Listen to me.
Whose language is it?
Listen to me. The only time you're going to use black vernacular is standing on the corner with your arm
Bullshit.
around your buddy,
No,
talking and rapping in a party
We go
where
right in your-
everybody's
we
hiding
go
with
sit on your
group.
couch.
When you're trying to take your business and you're trying to make yourself, you're trying to increase your level standards of living, believe me, black vernacular ain't going to mean no more than that cigarette butt laying on the ground.
The hardest thing, though, is for me to try to show the legitimacy of Black English, that what your parents speak, what your sisters and brothers speak, is not bad English. It's not slang. It's not something that you have to look down upon. It's just another variety. And at the same time say, well, but still you got to learn standard English.
So whether it's slang or whether it's standard English, it's still a language. Don't tell me it ain't a language. It's a language that you have snobbed and got indoctrinated.
But it's more than just accepting a dialect. It's you have to really understand that it's politics too. It's accepting the people who speak that variety. So you can't just say that, okay, you guys, if you speak standard English, you're going to get that job. Because that's not true. Then you might not get the job because still that you're black, but at least if you speak a standard variety, they can't say you didn't get the job because you just speak standard English. At least you know that, and they can't lay that on me. I got it.
Black or white, Texan or New Yorker, few people talk the same way all the time. There's one way of talking to friends and family and another way for business or school. We switch back and forth because we know there is no one way that works in every situation. Language can bring us together or set us apart. Our social and racial attitudes are mixed in with what we feel about people's accents. And because the way we talk is so much a part of who we are, we feel a special bond with people who talk the same way we do.
Put some salt in your mouth, put some Dixie in your talk. Let me hear that southern drawl when you say y'all.
Across the country, it sounds as though we're having a renewal of pride in our roots and in our speech as well. People are getting rid of the notion that everybody should sound alike. We're recognizing that our accents are part and parcel of our diverse identities, and we're certainly not afraid to advertise it.
Some people think I have Lone Star fever, that I take Texas pride too far. They think that's the only reason I eat Ron's crispy fried chicken. Come on!
Do you own a foreign car? Well, if you do, I have a tune-up special for you right now for only $19.95 plus parts.
J.L. Jones Discount Furniture on Whitfield Road is a place that we invite you to come and save money the year round.
Hey, Vern. Smells great. Cooking on a gas grill. Hot, fast, and cheap. You know, Vern, it's always...
Some people think television is making us all speak the same way. But that's not really the case. It's true, you may not speak exactly the way your parents do. Americans are more mobile and better educated today than ever before. But we'll never all speak the same way.
Listen, play it smart, Vernon. Call your gas company. Should have talked to your old buddy Ernest first, know what I mean? I believe them ribs about ready, Vern.
The little differences that are with us everywhere we go are not likely to be changed as long as they don't prevent comprehension, as long as they don't keep you from knowing what somebody else is saying or what you are saying to somebody else. As long as they don't spoil communication, then we're not going to change them. Why should we? I don't want to sound like somebody from some other part of the country. I don't know what's wrong with my own speech. We don't have to all talk alike. So I think that's a general feeling.
So you're not embarrassed by the way you talk? Or
no, absolutely not. You know, I mean, it's not a matter of pride or anything, but I mean, I don't want to go through the process of making my tongue do the stuff you have to do to talk right. I mean, it's just, you know.
Produced and directed by Louis Alvarez and Andrew Holker.
The coordinating producer was Susan Milano.
The line producer was Laura Myers.
Music by Mac Rabenak,
Lou Marini, George Davis.
Narrated by Polly Holliday.
Editing consultant, John Purcell.
The advisors were Walt Wolfram,
a friend of theirs left Louisiana, the state that he was born, and went to New York. And when he came back, he had this accent, you know, this southern picked up northern accent. And he walked in the restaurant, just on that tomato kick too. And he said, I want a menu, please. And they passed him the menu. And he looked at it. He says, I think I want an order of potatoes and tomatoes and some lettuce. And they gave him, when they brought the bill, they turned the bill down, and he ate. When he had finished eating, and he turned the bill up, he said, my God Almighty, I've never known taters and tomatoes to cost so much.